Welcome to the January 2020. Welcome to 2020 at the CAF. 2020. If you'd all rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All righty. Do we have any guests today? Yes, she's 16. Where's Dave Dyer? Is Dyer not here? Even though we got to cancel the meeting, Dyer's not here. Anyone visiting that is not a member, that hasn't been introduced, that wants to stand up, say hi? Stand up, say hi.
Pat Carr, I think this is my third time.
Hi, Pat.
May I say, Pat is the grandson, am I correct?
You're correct.
Of Lloyd Stearman.
Oh,
wow. Worthy of comment.
Worthy of comment. Yes.
Alrighty. Any new members that have got their packet from Dallas that haven't been sworn in that want to say hi? That want to be sworn in?
Sworn in.
Ryan, I haven't sworn in yet.
Have you got all your stuff from Dallas already, from the headquarters?
Yeah, I got all that stuff. I got my cap. I got my commemorative Air Force ID and all that stuff.
Come on down. We'll swear you in. All right. We'll make it legal.
Yeah.
Hey, it is working.
Is this working? Can you hear me in the back?
We'll use it for Morse code later.
Now we're talking Morse code.
There you go. Introduce yourself to the crowd.
Okay, my name's Henry Hickey. I spent 41 years in the military. I did 3 in the Corps, 7 active duty Army, and then I joined the Kansas Army National Guard, and they put me in the Red Reserve for 19 years. I retired for pay. I retired as a Chief Warrant Officer too, but they retired me as a Chief Warrant Officer 4 from the Army. So I'm fighting that battle right now. And I did 3 tours in the jungle. I did 2 in the Marine Corps, and I did 1 in the Army. And I graduated, and also when I retired, I joined the Civil Air Patrol. And I did 5 years in the Civil Air Patrol, and I learned a whole lot about the Air Force. You know, I didn't know what the Civil Air Patrol was, but they do a great job. They got a great cadet program, and 10% of all Civil Air Patrol cadets go to the Air Force Academy. And that's even better than the high school ROTC. And, you know, I'm all about it. I'm going to make some great donations to the museum, some stuff I know they're going to love. And that's pretty well me. So, I'm primarily a communications guy. I was a communications one, so I talk a lot. And I'm good at talking. They might not want to listen to it, but I can definitely put the talk on. Thank you.
We believe you. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
I will contribute my time and talents
I will contribute my time and talent,
to attain the objectives of the Commemorative Air Force,
working to maintain the objectives of the community of Air Force,
and by these actions
and by these actions,
reflect credit upon this organization,
reflect credit upon this organization,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to my country.
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to my country.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Alrighty. We'll start the new year like last year. Dennis Vogan, are you here? There you go. How about Paul Schaefer? Paul Schaefer in the room?
I can't say that.
Tonight show?
Yeah, he was on the night show.
Those are the only new guys I know, but we have a finance officer, and there might be an audit coming up. So we want the auditors coming in from out of town to know just how serious we are about stuff. Yeah. So in honor of all the books that we have, Finance Officer Tom McChesney, we got you a name tag. Tommy 2 sets. To reflect all the books that we have. We're not always going to be this serious, but. Alrighty. And that didn't come out of the wing budget there, so Bill needed the name tag.
I know.
Alrighty. Last fall we had the election. For those that don't read the newsletter or didn't get the update, I was reelected as wing leader. Linda, where's Linda at? Linda Sladish is our new executive officer. So if you want to complain about anything, Jim Schrock here. He was officially elected as the development officer. He had been appointed before that. And Bob Robinson was redone as operations officer. Was that all in the election? Okay. So congratulations to all of you guys. Thank you very much for all of you. You might notice that a lot of the water damage is gone. All the mold is gone from out of the room. We had a work party come out here. Keith Marquise, are you here? And I don't want to name everybody because I'll forget them all, but Jim Vaughn and Bob Robinson and Gary Stewart and John.
Ron Wright
Linda.
supervised.
What?
Ron Wright supervised.
Ron Wright was supervising, so you know.
I don't remember Dan.
Well, in spirit.
In spirit, you were here. They cut a hole in the sheetrock. It turned out that what we thought was a whole bunch of mold damage was just a little bit of surface. So they repatched it. We got paint. Gary Stewart got some paint. We're going to finish that up. We're going to replace the rest of the ceiling tiles with our repaired roof. Hopefully that'll be the end of that for right now. But thank you all very much for participating, for helping out. Chuck Hake, are you here?
Yeah, Chuck Hake did.
Yeah, he was here too. We are still paying for the roof, so if you need a 2020 tax deduction or you just feel like donating, Tommy, 2 books. What do we have now? About 12? No.
We are $2 short of 14,000.
Whoa.
Good. Good. Thank you everyone for contributing.
I've got 2.
So it did cost just over $20,000, so we've raised all but like 6. So thank you so much for contributing, and we'll keep working on that. Gary Swanson, if he's here, probably not because Dave's not here, but he donated $500 just recently. First Street Investments gave us $500. Is Batliner here? Batliner's not here. He just sold the drum of smoke oil that somehow came from Kansas City Air Show to our facility. He managed to get $250 for that, so that was an awesome thing. We got a maintenance update. Maintenance officer's here. I see him. Can you all hear in the back?
Yes.
Okay. Project.
Project. Enunciate to the back row. Those ago were the right wingtip for the PT-19 is coming out of its glue layup this morning down in Atlanta. With that, they will start the final fabrication of the right wingtip, which is the last structural piece of the right wing that needs to be repaired before they skin it. So we do need to make a trip down, taking the ailerons and the flaps down to Atlanta. They need those for final alignment on all the hinges for the flaps and the ailerons. And then they can start skinning. They also need the ailerons so that the trailing edge of the wood is properly fitted. When the aileron throws go, it won't rub. So that's coming up. I'm trying to time that trip to where right after they put the tip bow on, so we can get a good look at the final structure and give it, I guess, RO before they close it up. Our fuselage is currently over at Mr. Britt Bittekoffer's over in Gardner. He has found some minor damage and a couple things he wants to look at, and then we got to fabricate some brackets One of the problems with Gardner Airport right now, those of you that are familiar with the politics over there, the city's taken over the airport, and he is technically only supposed to weld outside, so it's kind of a hard time to do that right now. So we're taking a little bit of a delay getting the fuselage back over there. In the meantime, we're setting up the shop with a new sandblaster, V-blaster, so that we can take care of that. We do have a little bit of a problem with the new V-blaster. It requires more air than the old compressor can handle, so.
We had a bigger tank, would that help, or do we need?
No, the problem right now is the two lung can't keep up with, the tank's too small and the compressor's just a little bit too small to run that 40-gallon sandblaster. Yeah, right now, the compressor's working so hard, it does nothing but pump condensate into the tank. And if, after about 20 minutes of blasting pieces, Mike says it's starting to make mud inside the sandblaster, so we're gonna petition at the next staff meeting as part of the reason we sold the smoke oil barrel. Number one, the guys at Topeka needed it, and were willing to buy the entire barrel, so we sold to them. At any rate, we're hoping to earmark that $250 for the first stage of the new compressor for downstairs. We're still figuring out what we need. So hopefully, with a little bit of a compressor upgrade, we'll be able to continue to handle processing parts that we're doing downstairs. As we start to move forward on this year, we need to pass around a sheet. I'd like to get a list of all of you that want to. I know a lot of you have said, I want to help, I want to help. We want to try to get to where we can, make it to where everybody that wants to participate can participate. It's going to be a lot of parts cleaning, probably not as much hand on the airplane itself until we actually start putting it back together. But those of you that like to tinker with things, I'd like to get you involved. So let's later on today, or come see me in the shop during lunch, and we'll figure out, get names on a list and post it on the wall, and when we need help, we'll start calling people.
You know what? Why don't we take one of the clipboards back there with the email sign up on the back? It's blank, right?
That's fine.
Why don't we pass that around? Linda, would you mind? A pen and that clipboard. Turn the paper upside down if you want to help with the PT-19 restoration. Name, email, phone number, and that way we'll start the list.
Yeah, that way we have a list downstairs. We'll keep it actively on the wall, and if you guys want to go scratch yourself off and put yourself on, it'll be down there.
Cool.
Good idea. The other thing, I don't know, what you got, the ADSB update from their shop?
John Wittenborn, do you have an ADSB up? Are you up there?
He's on the phone right now.
Oh, he's on the phone right there. The last I heard, ADSB is like a new transponder. We got to get it for the Stearman and the PT-19 eventually. We took the airplane over to Executive Airport to get it installed, and they had to build an antenna mount, put the GPS antenna on the back of the airplane. So they made a mold, and they're cutting it all out of aluminum, and they said mid-January they'd be done, but I don't think they're going to make that.
I don't think so.
So someday soon we'll be doing a frostbite flight to check the new transponder out. I think maintenance should be involved in that.
Maintenance is other than that, we are going to have, we're getting ready to ship 2 tires to Virginia for recaps for the Stearman. Thanks to the generosity of the guys up at Gunfighter. Believe it or not, a P-51 and a Stearman use the same size tire. And a brand new one is $780 each. That doesn't include the inner tubes. I can get old Gunfighter tires, send them to Virginia, have them recapped with diamonds cut in them for $390. Still expensive. Yeah, it's not a Cessna, but we're gonna try that route. My understanding from the guys that operate these tires with the recaps are harder rubber, and they actually wear better. So we're gonna try some recaps on this old girl. So come to the shop and you'll see a pair of tires laying on the floor. We're getting ready to package those up and send those in for rework. Anybody have any questions?
Need water.
Anybody have a line on a 90 PSI compressor with maybe, how big of a tank is that?
I'd like to
20,
see,
30, 40
I'm
gallons?
gonna say anywhere from 40 to 60 gallons.
We accept donations, so it's damn near front. If somebody's going to an auction and happens to see a big old compressor, let me know.
Like I said, it's not that we don't want to use the compressor we got, it's just,
It's just not big enough.
well, I don't know that it was, I think it's a refrigeration compressor. I don't know.
No, it's a temperature control compressor, but only one of the motors goes on at a time. We can make it so both
I
motors.
thought we reworked that.
We didn't do that yet. But,
The problem is the problem's the tank.
okay,
We don't have enough volume.
Yeah, we just need a bigger tank
So-
of nothing else.
Is that three-phase or single-phase?
It's, what'd you say, Jimmy? Jim Bond.
Colonel Bond, single phase or three phase?
it's a single phase 240.
Do you have three-phase?
No,
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I did. Maybe we got bigger compressor. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I walked in late, apologize for being late, but
Yes.
when, you're talking about getting tires for the PC-19, right?
No,
Steerman.
The Stearman? How much are new tires?
$780 a pop.
And regaps are,
$385.
how long they gonna last?
Well, according to the recapper and the people at the people that are running them on their Stearmans, they last twice as long because they're actually hardened rubber. They actually.
Are we allowed to run a GoFundMe page on Facebook?
No.
No, basically. Headquarters will do that. If you want to give all the money to headquarters, you can run it. But as far as the local wing, they won't let us do that right now. Right now.
Anything else?
Does the 19 take the same size tires?
No.
Of course not. Why would it?
I'm trying to find out from the recapper if they'll recap those tires.
I've been running recaps on my when they last a lot longer.
Baldwin still operate?
Yeah, but they're not certified for aviation.
Used to do TWA's tires.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, look what happened at TWA. So,
TWA's already gets fine until American took over, jackass.
I think that's part of the maintenance report, isn't it?
Yes, I used to work.
Well, okay, maybe it wasn't the recaps that covered it. So. Anyway, thank you very much, Jim. We will be taking a trip down to Atlanta to bring those flaps and ailerons and extra parts to them. If somebody knows, right now, looking at shipping options, by the time we crate them up and hire a truck to ship it down, it's going to be a couple $1,000. They will fit in the back of the Suburban that we use for everything else around here. So it's possible what we're going to just do is load them up in the back of Suburban, drive them down to Atlanta, drop them off, and then drive home. If someone wants to make the trip, I'd kind of like Jim to make it, but he's got a busy schedule, and well, he may do it anyway. But I'd kind of like someone to go with him. If we're passing a clipboard around, signing up to help with the PT-19, if you can say, hey, I could drive to Atlanta and back and forth in the next month or so, let me know. Maybe I put you on the list. Or my house is done. Maybe I should get out of town. Say what?
The goal is to have me go.
That's always been the goal. Anyway, actually, but I don't want you to have to drive by yourself. So Jim's going to go down when he gets scheduled, but it'd be nice if we had two guys to drive together. Alrighty, Shrimp Fest was supposed to be coming up in February, but there's so much coming up in February and it's so cold out. We're going to push that back to April. Do we have a tentative date,
No.
Shrimp Fest guys?
no, April.
Just sometime
April.
in April.
Probably might be first Saturday in April because we do not have a first Saturday event in April.
But hopefully we will have warmer temperatures and we can do the Shrimp Fest
Hopefully
downstairs
outside.
and make it bigger and better and wonderful. And thank you, Bubba and Earl, for taking care of that. Wing Staff Conference down in Dallas is the end of February. It's like the 27th through March 1st, something like that. We've got a half a dozen people going down. They call it a staff conference, but it's open to any CAF member. If you wonder how the CAF runs and who runs it, it's a great place to learn how to do that. It is a little bit pricey. I think it's like $300 for the conference, and then you got to buy your own hotel room and stuff. But again, we'll probably be taking the Suburban down full of people. And if somebody wants to come with, let me know, or if you got questions about it, give me a call.
And be sure to ask about what ANUAC is.
For those that don't know, one of our members, ANUAC is the annual, accounting, I can't remember. It's a fee that CF headquarters charges us every year to do our bookkeeping and keep our tax exempt status. And it's always been a point of contention. And someone at the Wing Conference several years ago, they threw out does anybody have a question? And he said, yeah, what's this ANUAC stuff? And the whole room, if they had pitchforks and torches, they'd run the guy out of town, but he was pretty funny. So we're gonna wear shirts that say, what is ANUAC?
I like that.
Anyway, like I said, we got at least a half dozen people going. It's cool. Some units will have 10 or 15 people. Normally that's like the Arizona wing, where they got 1,000. But if you want to come, let me know and we'll work out transportation. Dance committee, do we have an update?
We'll have a meeting this Tuesday. We're coming along fine with our planning. We're shooting for about 200 to 250 people in the hangar. And it'll be in September 19th. And there'll be a lot of advertising and notes distributed throughout the year until September, promoting it. And we'll be making the rounds to various civic organizations as well to promote this. We're going to need a lot of help. And we're in the process of defining what we need and how we're going to do it and who's going to be involved with all that at the present time. So we're on track, and we're meeting typically once a month or so, and we've got the planning going.
Thank you, John. Any update from the museum director?
Yes, actually. I don't hack up along. Had a cough for like 2 weeks. It's horrible. All right, so now that all of that is getting cleaned up, I'm just planting this in your brain. I don't want stuff yet. But for all of you CAF members who've been around a long time, start digging through, because this whole area is going to be the history of the CAF.
And the Heart of America Wing.
And the Heart of America Wing, both of them. So all this, so there's going to be the couches there, the fireplace is going to stay. I've got a plan for the big T6 picture with all the members. Going to go right above the fireplace. It's going to be a plate, and the library is going to move over there. So you can grab a book, sit on the couch. All of our history will all be over here. So start digging through if you have old pictures of parties or whatever. We want to make this CAF and the HOA history corner. So just be thinking about that. Don't want stuff yet. Just be digging where into it. We're going to have a full, if anyone has a complete old Confederate Air Force uniform, that's going to be over there as well. I heard you do.
If anybody.
So that's the plan. So thankfully this is not as bad as we thought it was.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And we can start moving. So in the next few months, just kind of dig, see what you got, and then I'll put a call out for anything that you have for the HOA history or even Confederate Air Force history.
It's going to be cool. It's going to look great, and we keep the fireplace, which is a popular thing. Randall Hawk, again, is our YouTube editor. And are we putting the speeches on the channel? So if you want to see our speaker again, look us up on YouTube, and we have all kinds of good content and people actually watching it.
And I always put a link up on the Facebook page as well, so you can just go to the Facebook page and then follow the link to the YouTube channel.
Which is great. We're going to get famous. Any other announcements, updates, wants? Anybody need anything or suggest anything? Let's see, we'll be eating up here again today because it's freezing frickin' cold downstairs. So after the meeting, if we can pull up some chairs, there's a bunch of tables behind the couch in the fireplace room. We'll need to set up a half a dozen, 7 or 8 tables, and then chairs and stuff. If you could help do that, I'd appreciate it. And without further ado, the late Dave Dyer.
Oh my God.
I held up a couple of World War II vets getting over here. It's my fault we're late. We stopped for coffee.
Our speakers are going to introduce themselves today, but I wanted to give you just 3 quick updates about what's coming up. Number one, I appreciated everybody filling out the survey about how we could do a better job with the speaker series. And the thing that really resonated with me, I appreciate everybody filling out their survey, is that if we had a taller speaker coordinator and if we had a classier speaker coordinator, this program would take off. So Heather Hauser this year has agreed to be my co-host of the speaker series. And I'm excited about that because Heather will give us an opportunity to really do some more work around the Heritage Series. I think that's great that Heather has offered and volunteered to step up to the plate. Second, I am very excited that next month we're going to do our Purple Heart Series again. And for those of you that don't know, that was probably one of my favorite, they're all favorites but in their own way, but next month is going to be very special. We're going to have a lady that was wounded at Fort Hood, the Fort Hood massacre, that is going to be our speaker. And then there's talk that we might have an almost 99-year-old Purple Heart who was at the Guadalcanal, who's on the front row, whose name will not be mentioned. And then Richard Calvert, who just came in the back, has 5 Purple Hearts. We've got about, we'll probably have about 15 Purple Heart veterans. And that'll include the USS Pueblo, who was a prisoner of war, the USS Liberty, both the Afghan Kyle Harris, hopefully will be here, who was in Iraq and Afghanistan. We'll have several Vietnam veterans, several of them were authors, and so I just would ask that you come out and help us honor our veterans that have sacrificed for our country. So I think that'll be a special. And the third announcement is in March. Ed Boswell's in the back, and I'd really like to make March our 75th anniversary of Iwo Jima. February and March, it was about a 30-day battle, and it seems only appropriate that we pause and really think about the accomplishments. I know when we say the Pledge of Allegiance, that's special because Ed saw both of those flags that were there. So I'm always amazed at the heroes that come to hear other heroes speak. And I'm excited today. I've had so many people say, I'm excited about the presentation that Ron's group is doing because they want to hear about D-Day. I know Mary Ann's here. Her dad was a POW and walked across 60 miles as they traveled back after being captured. So I'm not going to introduce our speakers because they're big boys. They can introduce themselves. But give a warm welcome, Ron Wright.